Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine.
The communist nations have exploited the turmoil of a time of transition in an effort to extend communist control into other areas of the world.
Thoughts on Dean Rusk and America's involvement in Vietnam? I know next to nothing about that.
Exactly. Chinese saboteurs are coming to America. There's now a Chinese invasion of the U.S. homeland. The jungle is filled with Chinese marching to America, war correspondent Michael Yan told Gatestone. Chinese migrants are entering the United States on foot at the southern border. Almost all are desperate, seeking a better life for themselves and their children. Some, however, are coming to commit acts of sabotage. China is in a state of distress. Gloom pervades Chinese society. Chinese by the hundreds are now patiently waiting for visas in sweltering, heaping lines at U.S. consulates in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. Many, however, are short-circuiting the long waits at the consulates. At the southern border, Chinese migrants are into the United States in unprecedented numbers. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reports that the number of apprehensions of Chinese migrants in the first 5 months of the current federal fiscal year was more than double that during all the last fiscal year. The 8,000 Chinese migrants apprehended this calendar year are more than quadruple the number apprehended in the comparable period a year ago. Chinese nationals are flying to Ecuador, which permits them to enter visa-free. They then make their way to the southern edge of the Darien Gap, about 66 miles of jungle separating Colombia and Panama. The migrants cross the natural barrier on foot, and once safely on the north side, continue the journey to America, often by bus. Some Chinese migrants are poor. Many, however, are middle class. They can afford to pay $35,000 each to Mexican cartels to be smuggled into America. It's like an animal stampede before an earthquake, said Sam, the Chinese migrant who crossed into America first in February at Brownsville, Texas, to Axios. Some migrants are mostly certainly members of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, the PLA. Representative Mark Green, Republican from Tennessee, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, said at a June 14th press conference that a Border Patrol sector chief informed him that some of the Chinese migrants at the southern border have known ties to the PLA. We have no idea who these people are, and it's very likely they're using Russia's template for sending military personnel into Ukraine. China is doing the same thing into the United States, Green said. These military-linked migrants, despite their affiliations, have been released into America. There is no question that Chinese PLA is inserting saboteurs through Mexico at the Darien Gap. I've seen countless packs of Chinese males of military age, unattached to family groups, and pretending not to understand a word of English, said Yan, the war correspondent. They were all heading to the American border. Normally in groups of 5 to 15, they typically emerge from the Darien Gap and spend one night in the U.S.-funded San Vincent camp or next door in the Teneos Hotel before boarding luxury buses to the trip up Highway 1 called Costa Rica, Yan reported. A long group of 6 young men bought a chicken at the Nazi Hotel, drank its blood from the small glasses, then cooked the chicken themselves in the hotel restaurant, according to the hotel manager. Drinking raw blood is a right among PLA soldiers. Once here, the military fighters can link up with China's agents already in place of Chinese diplomats. How many of the PLA's fighters have slipped into the United States this way? Some estimate 5,000, others 10. Those numbers sound high, but whatever the actual figure, more are coming. These are China's shock troops. The concern is that on the first day of war in each year, they will take down America's power lines, poison water reservoirs, assassinate officials, start wildfires, spread pathogens, and create terror by bombing shopping malls and supermarkets. The saboteurs will most likely attack American military bases. China has already been probing sensitive installations. Chinese agents posing as tourist apprehensions intrude into bases, including the Army's Fort Wainwright in Fairbanks, Alaska. There, the suspected Chinese agents drove past the base gate and were later apprehended with a drone inside their car. Ancient Chinese strategists prized the use of subterfuge and surprise to achieve victory. And the 2 PLA colonels who wrote Unrestricted Warfare in '99 were full of praise for the tactics of Osama bin Laden, Richard Fisher, the International Assessment and Strategy Center, told Gatestone. When the Chinese Communist Party starts its war against Taiwan and the United States, Americans should expect that Chinese sleeper agents now in America will hit targets like gas stations. Military-aged Chinese now crossing our border will be mobilized for assassination attacks and assaults on U.S. military bases. Therefore, the next war in Asia will most certainly be fought on U.S. soil, perhaps on its first day. Unsuspecting Americans will be in the fight. Immigrants make countries strong, and almost all Chinese migrants crossing the border will contribute to American society. Some, however, are coming to wage war on the United States.
That's bullshit.